Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for checking out the channel. Just wanted to make a quick post today talking about home energy and maybe clearing up some things about solar and home battery systems. We've been told now for years that, hey, obviously you can save money with solar and home battery. Well, that's not exactly why I would encourage everybody to do solar. It is obviously a byproduct of having cheaper energy created at your house. Um, anyways, the biggest thing is well, I live in California, and then across the country, really, we're moving away from natural gas power plants. Well, things are being extended going into the next 5, 10 years, 15 years, depending on how long we need it to transition to a more reliable energy. We are phasing out of it as a country, and then especially as a state. If your state is run anything like California, you obviously have heard by now plenty that we are moving away from obviously coal. We don't have, I don't think, any coal refinery plants here in California. We are mainly natural gas. We use a lot of wind power. We use a lot of solar power. Um, let's see, I actually have a pretty killer chart here that shows our energy. Let me pop this up really quick. It's been a while since I've been on, but just trying to keep up with everything out here. But let's check this out. So this chart here shows you the energy generation here in California. Um, I'll try to look up while I'm looking at this. So you can see the different ways that we create energy. The dotted line is the demand of the grid throughout the day. If you scroll down here to the bottom, it shows you hours of the day. And so this is throughout the day, right? Obviously, before the sun comes up, you can see there's not much of this big yellow blob where the solar energy is created. That's where we're using everything else. Looks like what imports. So that big red area, we import a lot of power from out of state. So wherever it's, whether it be wind or coal refinery or natural gas from another state, we're importing that into our grid here. Look at our big natural gas. So that's our baseline of energy created here in the state. Obviously, we really lean on that, and that really supplies the majority of that base load. And then we layer in these other forms of energy. We have biomass. We have where's the nuclear? Is there any nuclear line here? We do have, oh, at the very bottom, the gray there. We have one nuclear power plant left here in California. There's been talk of doing those micro nuclear plants where they're just smaller reactors that you know they're going to do a bunch of those apparently. I don't know when, um, but that's something they're talking about. So, anyways, I don't want to really get into all the different ones on here. You can see it right there in front of you. But the biggest thing that stands out to me is this huge yellow blob of solar energy. So while we've done pretty well getting a lot of solar out on the grid, the biggest thing now is trying to fill in this purple on the top where that's battery. Everything is delivering a lot of power. We are meeting the demand just barely right there at the very peak. You can see that's in the afternoon as the sun starts to go down. You can start to see that the solar starts to fade out, and then everything kind of like does a little fade, except for the natural gas, and all those things ramp up to meet demand. We import a crap ton. See that? See how the red continues to go up as high as we need it to, and then we kind of, it starts to taper off. So the idea is, I just wanted to show that where we're producing our power, how we're using it, the time of day that we're using it, because most homes in California are now on the time of use program, where they're charging you more for the time of day, that more or less depending on the time of day you're using your energy. And if you notice, our peak times are between 4 and 9 typically across the state. And you can see here right around 4 o'clock where the sun starts to go down, and we start pulling more power from other sources and the solar goes away. That's when energy is the most expensive. Why? Well, you can check it out here. They got to ramp everything up in order to deliver us the amount of power that we need. So it just kind of makes sense, right? That like if we're needing more power when less is being created through renewable sources, they're going to charge us more to deliver it. And you can see on your power bill that there is a delivery section. And that's where they're showing you like, hey, we had to deliver this much power at this time. This is how much it costs you. And that's aside from the generational fee, and aside from they now have a new flat fee for the energy that's like $24 a month, um, in addition to what you're using. So just to clarify a little bit about billing and how our energy is being generated and delivered here in California and across the US, and that we are moving away from a lot of this stuff. And we're really trying to do what's easiest, which is collect the energy from the sun. Here is Gemini. I wanted to do this little chat bot discussion, which is the main reason why I wanted to pop on here and kind of give more than just my opinion on it. I obviously think that um, producing and storing your own power on site is the most simple way to do things, and if it's actually cheaper than buying premium energy through the grid, which is unreliable at this point and basically has new mandates to shut off in case it's windy or hot or too high a demand wherever it's going to be um, wildfire risk essentially, which is the high winds, right? Because that causes sparks and causes power lines to swing around, fall, trees to knock them down, everything like that. Um, as well as the overloading of the grid when it gets really hot. Everybody starts running their AC and such. They will start to have like rolling blackouts or safety outages just to make sure that we're not, or that the utility company is not going to be responsible for any new fires. As everybody knows, we are usually plagued with a lot of fires seasonally. But here is what Chatbot has to say about it. Gemini put in here, I think this is already pre-prompted. It says, what is California's plan for the residential power grid over the next 10 years? Let's check in and see what Gemini's got to say about it.
California is currently executing a massive, decade-long overhaul of the residential power grid to handle two simultaneous pressures: rapid electrification, EVs and heat pumps, and climate-driven reliability risks, wildfires and heat waves. As of early 2026, the strategy has shifted from simply building more to managing smarter through the following four pillars. 1. The battery revolution and distributed energy. California is moving away from a centralized power plant to home model toward a decentralized system where your home acts as a mini power plant. Virtual power plants, VPPs. Over the next 10 years, the state is scaling programs like the Demand Side Grid Support, DSGS. This pays residents, e.g., Tesla Powerwall owners, to allow the grid to borrow their stored energy during peak hours.
Let's take a quick break there. So let's look at that. Let's expound a little bit on that. So California is executing, as in they're doing it right now. That's why you've had so many solar people coming out. That's why Sunrun has grown to 1.2 million customers nationwide. This is why so many batteries have been deployed just over the last couple of years. Um, there is a massive push to make energy cheap. Um, Basically, the only way that we're going to be able to control the cost of energy is if we increase the supply. Right now, there's a massive demand. If you look back at that chart that we were looking at, um, you see the demand is freaking at the top of what we're producing all the time. That's the problem, and increasing as more EVs and more electronics and more heat pumps because they want everybody to get off nat gas. If you just read the tea leaves here, we're pushing hard for all electric everything. And that's due to technology advances. That's due to probably just a bunch of smarter people than me for sure, deciding that there is an easier way to run households. And of course, there's a little bit of change that has to go along with that because of old construction and stuff like that. Homes that are, been built a certain way for decades and decades now. Now we're have such higher demand for the electrical panel, which most homes have to have an electrical panel upgrade in order to have an EV car, to have a heat pump, to have a jacuzzi, a swimming pool, air conditioning, run computers, video games, like all that stuff. Um, you know, Freaking dishwashers, laundry, like everything is electric. Um, and they're pretty much outlawing going with natural gas from here on out. They want, I believe that they're trying to expand their liquefied natural gas resource so that they can sell that overseas to all these other countries that are behind us technologically. Um, that's, they haven't come out and said that, but like I know that they've been working on liquefied natural gas, and making that more efficient to to transport natural gas because we have a crap ton of it. It's our cheapest resource. That's the biggest pushback I get when I talk to people about solar is like, well, natural gas is so cheap. It's like, yeah, it's cheap for us, but other countries survive off of it. So we would love to exploit that and transport it. And the best way to transport bulk natural gas is to liquefy it and then transport it over to somewhere else. And then they freaking expand it and then put it into their grid. So if you're new to America, like our whole deal is to make a bunch of money and be capitalists. So and that's not anything that I'm trying to like say is right or wrong, but that is how this country runs. So love it or hate it, like that's the name of the game here in the U.S. Um, and we're just trying to survive and live happily at our homes. So that's like the number one reason why I like being involved in the energy sector is because with your own energy on your roof that gets stored in your battery on your house, that's literally the only way you can control the cost and when you're getting your energy. Right now, with the grid, they can turn it off as needed because it's their power. We're renting it from them, they produce it, and they send it to us. If they have any reason to not send it to us, they will not send it. It's just the way it is. Like legally, they're being held responsible for it. So the thing is the centralized grid comes from like one major facility, and they send a shit ton of power through the power lines, which is dangerous. It's just dangerous. Unfortunately, like sending bulk loads of electricity is kind of sketchy. It was working when we just had like little lights here or there, like, oh, we added a washing machine. Um, that was fine, they were able to deal with it. But we've exceeded that by a lot now. And like, of course, they're upgrading the power lines and all that stuff, trying to keep up. Um, and then we pay for it. So, I mean, that's literally the crux of it all is we're trying to make the grid more efficient. We're also trying to fortify your home so that you don't have to worry about what the government's deciding to do with the grid. Um, Whether somebody attacks one of our generation plants somewhere or attacks the grid at some key point where the electricity gets sent to us, Did you know that our electrical grid is basically the US's Achilles heel, because we have refused to move forward and fortify that grid system. It's like literally our weakest point as a nation. If people got in here and decided to attack our grid, we it would be kind of chaos, right? Like if stores and hospitals and things like that start to struggle for electricity, um, that becomes a real problem. You know, lots of people could die because of their medical devices, or because they need medical treatment, or because transportation, or because your food goes out and the store's not able to stay up. Because yes, they have generators, but if the natural gas isn't coming to feed the generators, then how in the world are they going to get those to work? So they still need a lot more fortification as far as those types of things go. So virtual power plant is where this conversation was leading to. And so when every home is producing power and storing it, then we actually have what would be called a distributed power plant. Let me go back over here to this image. Ta-da! So it doesn't, Sunrun, of course, that's who I've worked for 4 years now, in developing this whole new grid system. If you look around at your neighborhood, there are for surely tons of people that have gone solar, not necessarily because they're like, oh, I saved $1 million by going solar. It's they see that it's just a more effective way to produce their own power on site. Um, and maybe the biggest issue that I see now with so much of that solar is they weren't included with battery. So now that's why the push for the battery. Once they've realized that solar works so well, the best way now is to capture all that energy for nighttime use, for in case there's an outage or severe weather, whatever it may be. If the home is self-sustaining, all those things don't matter. That's the idea, right? Like we just kind of don't want to have to worry about it. So if you can do something for cheaper and it actually makes it easier to go on with your daily life without thinking about it, being autonomous as a home is kind of, got an extreme value, at least in most people's eyes. Some people will fight it and say, hey, I'm good. That's fine. There's always going to be people that don't want to change or don't feel like they need certain things. I personally have kids and work from home quite a bit, so having energy is a pretty big deal. So yes, the decentralized grid. See here at the very bottom, you can see the centralized power plant, which goes to the grid, which goes to the community. Very much precarious because if anything happens between the power plant, the grid, and the community, bam, we all lose power. With the decentralized grid, the freaking sun comes up, powers all these homes, everybody's got batteries on board, really can go uninterrupted very easily. It's just that simple. It's kind of crazy because it is that easy. And I feel like people lose touch with the idea because it's more simple than they can even imagine. Like, is it really that easy that like the panels create the power and then store it in your battery and then your house just runs seamlessly no matter what? Most people have no idea that there's even an outage unless they look around at their neighbors' homes and see that they have no power, or their neighbor comes and knocks on their door and say, "Hey, like my devices are almost out of battery. Like, do you mind if I charge?" Um, which is also amazing. Now you're a higher level in your community. Like, hey, like you have sustained energy no matter what. Like, hey, like some homes can't get solar and batteries because they have big trees over their home, or their roof is bad, or their electrical panel doesn't qualify. So this is why I always say, hey, like see if you qualify for the equipment, and if you do, like why not save a couple bucks and fortify your home? Like it's kind of a no-brainer. And I feel like people get like a little disenchanted or a little bit like worried about it because it seems too good to be true, but it's really just that simple. And millions of people are doing it at this point. Let's continue on with little Miss Gemini.
4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Mandatory
Oh
storage.
yeah,
New resident
4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Apparently, I stopped it right as they're talking about those peak hours where the energy is the most expensive. The idea is that you flatten out the cost of the energy, and you don't have this up and down with the cost of energy. You make the decision to flatten that, and usually below whatever the lowest rate from the utility. Plus, you get the batteries. It's really silly not to do it at this point, but okay. So it's just about to go into mandatory storage, and so again, this is what is California's plan for the residential power grid for the next 10 years. This isn't my plan. This isn't Sunrun's plan, even though we're here to aid it. This is SCE, PG&E. This is the state dictating the direction of the grid. So you can go against it if you want to, but that only costs you more money and more time and headache as things get further and further down this road. I promise you, they're going to make things more and more difficult.
energy codes now require most new homes to be BESS ready, battery energy storage system, or include solar plus storage directly to flatten the duck curve. Excess solar at noon, high demand at sunset. Equity rebates. Programs like SGIP and DAXASH provide up to $1,000 per kWh in rebates for low-income or high-fire risk households to install batteries, ensuring the grid's most vulnerable points are the most resilient. 2. Modernizing the physical grid. SB 254. Enacted in late 2025, SB 254 is the state's blueprint for the physical wires and poles through 2035. Rapid energization. The state is forcing utilities to meet strict energization targets to end the multi-year wait times for new home EV chargers and electric upgrades. Wildfire hardening. Utilities are barred from earning profits on the first $6 billion spent on wildfire safety through 2035. This incentivizes them to move lines underground and install smart, fast-trip sensors that shut off power instantly if a line breaks, preventing fires. Transmission acceleration. A new $18 billion revolving fund, the iBank, was created to build massive new transmission lines to bring wind and solar from the desert and offshore into residential hubs. 3.
Okay. So as I said, natural gas is kind of like one of our biggest baseline providers. What we're also paying for is renewable energy from the desert, from wind farms, from all kinds of different places. So it's not whether or not you're ready for the renewable energy or if you're ready for solar. Like, you're already buying solar. You have no idea, but like, you're already buying crap tons of solar energy. You just aren't getting the benefit of having it at your home and storing it right there on site. Also, you can look it up. Um, there's a lot of battery projects going on, utility size battery projects going on, where they're also storing the energy in batteries, like these large battery banks. They can store all that extra energy that we're producing via solar and everything else in the middle of the day when no one's using it and everybody's at work. They are using large scale batteries. So you're already paying for all these renewables, whether it be wind, solar, batteries. Like, there's already utility grade stuff out there that we're paying for, and they're delivering that to us. We pay for that in the delivery charges and the increasing rates every single year. The rates be going up about 10%, between 6 and 10% a year on average. Some of the worst years is more like 20%. I want to say over the last 3 years, the utility rates have gone up a solid 30%, plus this new flat fee, which is about $250 a year. Let's go. So some of the next iterations are going to be this transportation grid support. So vehicle to grid. They're going to be able to plug your vehicle into your house and provide power that way. So not only would you be able to charge your car via the sun and your own batteries, but in a long extended outage, if you run your batteries down at your home, you can plug your car in and run your home back the other way. So as you can see, they're making it really smart to do these upgrades for your house, because basically you be bulletproof. You know what I mean? Like they can't. You're unstoppable. Either your vehicle's powering your house or your house is powering your vehicle. Um, Literally nothing can get in the way of progress. Um, like I said, some people will stomp their feet and cross their arms. That's fine, because there's always going to be those people. But for everybody else that's trying to think forward and like thinking like, hey, I'm hoping to be here for another like 30, 40, 50 years. Um, let's get with the times and start advancing, because obviously technology has been good to us. And if you want to continue to reap the benefits from all the technology, you kind of have to grow with the technological advances. So this is a very simple way that doesn't cost you money unless you really want to buy the equipment yourself. Totally good way to go too. I advise you to buy it cash, because if you finance it, there's really like a big finance charge. So yeah, you say you buy a $50,000 system. After financing, you're closer to like $100,000 for that system. And you don't have the same support as like a power purchase agreement, where it basically costs you nothing out of pocket, nothing for the installation, and then it's maintenance. So if it happens to go down and it's not producing power, um, they can only bill you for power that you're buying, and if you're not buying any power, then your bill stops. Edison then starts powering your house until the system's fixed. And it's not fixed at your dime, it's fixed on the company's dime. They come out, they have to service it. It's they're incentivized to do that, because if they can't sell you power, then their whole business model goes kaput. So the whole idea is that the company is responsible for the equipment, and responsible for the overall customer experience, because if your home battery is working and everything you're powering through outages, and you're able to help your neighbors and help the grid advance as a whole just by adding something to your home and saving a couple bucks, um, there's a tremendous value there.
Transportation as grid support, V2G. By 2030, California expects 8 million EVs on the road. The 10-year plan treats these cars as a giant mobile battery. Vehicle to grid, V2G. State agencies are standardizing bidirectional charging, allowing your EV to power your home during an outage or sell energy back to the grid when prices are high. Smart charging mandates. By 2026-2027, the state is moving toward requiring smart chargers for all new residential units that automatically shift charging to late-night hours when demand is lowest. 4. Rate reform and affordability. To pay for these upgrades without skyrocketing monthly bills, the CPUC is implementing a fixed-price billing structure. Income-graduated fixed charges, utility bills are being split into a fixed monthly fee based on income tiers to cover grid maintenance and a much lower usage rate per kilowatt hour. Western Power Market. California is leading the creation of a West-wide electricity market to pool resources with neighboring states, which is projected to save Californians roughly $1 billion annually by 2030. Would you like me to look up the specific rebates or?
Booyah. So again, California has been leading the charge on this for close to like 2 decades, I believe. And it just continues to progress. So I think I'm going to probably cut this video short here. I do happen to plan to have more of an open forum conversation. Usually run this um, TikTok or whatever, do some Facebook Live, whatever. But yeah, it'd be cool to hear back from people. But my channel's not super big, so I'm just going to make a video, put this thing out there. I will go live with this and basically have the same conversation and just see what people have to say about it. I know there's a lot of areas this past couple years, that have been hit with a lot of outages. We had kind of a gnarly winter, where there's some big sections knocked out. Even San Francisco lost a bunch of power during a rainstorm, I believe, and yeah, it just caused a lot of chaos. For the homes that had solar and battery, I don't think they were that much affected by it, but they were able to watch the news and get the internet and do their thing there. Anyways, that'll be it for me today. I will catch you all later. You guys be safe out there and have a good one.